Good morning and welcome to this edition of Facebook Live. I'm meteorologist Maria Larosa, and a few things we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about our latest tropical storm, and as of the latest advisory, still a tropical storm, Julia. And then it's so exciting, we're going to be talking to YouTube star Hank Green in just a minute. So let's first talk about Julia. And again, the latest advisory is in. Winds are to 40 miles per hour, moving off to the north-northeast at about 6 miles per hour. You can see it's really lopsided. All of the heavy rainfall off to the east on the western side, fair skies and dry. But look at the latest forecast for where Julia is going to be headed next. Not so much the wind forecast, because that's sort of the secondary impact that we'll have to be concerned about. It's not moving very much over the next few days. In fact, the cone takes us beyond Friday morning. And so it's a system that we'll be dealing with in some form, at least through the weekend, and in some form that translates to some rainfall. So if you have some weekend plans, this is something to keep in mind. If it's Hilton Head or Myrtle Beach, nothing to cancel, but definitely just be aware. As we go through the next couple of hours, you see sort of that push of water with the general circulation around Julia. Wind gust, although not excessive, can still be that sort of consistent 20 to 25 miles per hour. We're talking from Savannah to Charleston, on up in through Wilmington on the lighter side as far as the winds go. But there you go. The forecast saying even as we get into the overnight tonight, Charleston could be looking at wind gusts to top 30 miles per hour. So just a heads up, maybe spotty power outages. We've seen a few already this morning in parts of Georgia, so that's something to just keep in mind. And Wilmington, you can see maybe a little gustier as we get from Thursday and into Friday. But this is the impact that concerns us, that flash flood watch. It's posted for Savannah, north of Brunswick, includes Charleston and Reeseville, as well as Hinesville. And that means a couple of inches of rainfall the next few days. And you're talking about flash flood concerns. You're talking about ponding on the roadways, maybe some of those low-lying roadways that typically flood when you have a setup like this. Maybe a situation as we get into the weekend. So the rainfall is there. It's not going to be nonstop, but for some of us, we obviously have to keep in mind if we're making plans to the coast, even on into Saturday. Columbia, Charleston, Wilmington, Savannah, Tybee Island, Jacksonville, down to Tampa. Keeping in mind, too, that it's a wide-reaching system. Even though the heavy rain right now seems pretty local, it's wide-reaching. So we'll keep that threat for bigger thunderstorms today in through Georgia and South Carolina and maybe even into Florida, where we get a fair sky and some added instability, and you get that threat for some severe weather. But look at the rainfall totals here. Notice the forecast is ending by Sunday p.m., so it's a several-day rainfall forecast, and you have those totals that are that 6, 7, 8 inches of rainfall potential. There's a look at that severe threat here today from Charleston to Savannah, Brunswick. You get a little added instability with some of the fairer skies, especially off to the west of the center, and that's where you get a little enhancement. So for that reason, we have a Torcon of 3, so a few spin-ups not out of the question. We've already had a few marine warnings for the potential of water spouts off of the South Carolina coast, so keep that in mind, even as we get in through tomorrow for the eastern side of South Carolina. So this is something that we will definitely keep you ahead of as one of our tropical stories. All right, I want to get to now YouTube star Hank Green. So excited. He's joining us today. And Hank, I just want to read your bio, so to speak. It's really, really cool. You were one of a handful of YouTube stars selected to interview President Obama. You have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, master's in environmental studies. You're joining us from Missoula, Montana. And I love the topic that we're talking about, the importance of STEM education and STEM careers. This is so awesome. Thank you so much for taking time with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a pleasure to be here on this most wonderful of weather channels.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I have boys in elementary school. Their school's really pushing STEM. Let's first talk about what STEM is and why you think it's so important to kids' future and the future of all of us.
Yeah, it absolutely is important to the future of all of us, too. These careers are about solving problems, and sometimes we can face a difficult problem or a difficult challenge and turn away from it. But what all of my scientists and engineer friends have in common is that when they see a difficult problem, they want to dive further into it. They want to find out what's making this problem a problem, what's making the world tick, so that they can solve things. And it's actually a very creative career And I kind of want to get the word out about that. I think a lot of people think that it's only for a certain type of person.
And you say something that's really interesting and kind of struck me. Talk about why failure and the lack of initial answers should excite students more than scare them. Because I'll tell you, it's hard to not be right in elementary school these days. You know, they're really pushing, you know, test scores and that kind of thing. How, to you, is it important to also fail and realize that that could be a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's about understand, and like this is the change that it is hard to make in yourself, but and hard to make in our children. But it's about understanding that because you're not good at something doesn't mean it's not for you. Because nobody's good at calculus when they're born. It's whether or not you're good at confronting a problem and diving into it instead of, you know, turning off and wanting to hide from it. And I don't know that the educational system is particularly good at encouraging that. And I think a lot of times we sort of start off our careers being praised for being talented, being good at something no matter what, when in fact the thing that I think we should be praised for is taking on something really difficult and not necessarily getting it at first, but getting it after a lot of hard work.
And that brings me to another question, because I know anyone who's watching who has kids in school, they really are pushing STEM in a lot of schools. But I've also heard of STEAM, where they add the A for the arts of it. What's your take on that? With the scientific community, and you're thinking hard math and science and problems, but adding that art to it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because you use words like hard and soft when talking about subjects in school, but absolutely, art is a part of this. Creativity is a part of this. Every day in a laboratory is an improvisation. Interpreting data is an improvisation. Like, you have to use your critical thinking skills in the arts and also in the sciences. And understanding what it is, understanding how people behave, understanding how to communicate with people, all these things are tremendously important in science. And so, absolutely, you can't leave those things behind. It has to be a robust, broad education.
All right, we're going to have a little fun here. I have a list of some most asked science questions, and one of them kind of caught my attention as really fascinating. It's something I've always wondered too. Why do cats like catnip? Oh, can you hear me, Hank? Oh, I think we might have lost audio. Can you hear me, Hank? I think we might have lost Hank. I apologize. So hopefully Hank can hear us say thank you so much. Again, that was a YouTube star, Hank Green, emphasizing STEM and STEM education and why STEM careers not only, something that we should be focused on, but that kids can really embrace and enjoy. And the fun part is that failure can be fun when you're talking about science as well. So that's really cool. All right, why don't I take the opportunity then to give a couple of shout outs and answer some questions here. You guys have been great. I've been seeing a lot of shout outs. Let's see. A lot of you are asking about weekend plans and the weather and how this tropical system may be impacting that. Let's see. How about Myrtle Beach? Billy Jones asking what the weather is going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this weekend with this tropical storm happening. So one of the things that we're emphasizing is that this may not be a named system by the time the weekend rolls around. And for a city like Myrtle Beach, there's tons of things to do outside of actually going into the water. So we just want to emphasize caution when you're talking about driving around and maybe some of those low-lying areas that may get a lot of heavy rain. That's what we're looking at into the weekend. It's maybe some showers, occasionally gusty winds too. So looks like we're not getting the contours on our map here, but the idea is, again, through this weekend, occasional showers. So for Myrtle Beach, for you, it is not going to be a washout, but it is, when you see contours in the orange and the red when you're talking about rainfall totals, especially Charleston, high tide, high water levels. streams that might be running high. You could get some localized flooding. That's the sort of thing to be concerned about. Don't cancel plans by any stretch of the imagination. Just be prepared and know what you're getting into when you're heading out. So again, when you're looking at the totals, maybe as much as 8 to 12. This is a long-term forecast here. We're talking about on into Sunday. So some things can change as far as the main details, but the big picture is there will likely be some spots with heavy rainfall. So that's a look at Myrtle Beach. Let's see. All right, let's touch on Florida real quick because I've had a couple of people talk and ask about Florida. So today, because of the influence of Julia and just enough instability that we're looking at the chance for showers and thunderstorms here, and some of them may be on the stronger side. So Jacksonville, Daytona, I know we showed video earlier out of St. Augustine, some gusty rainfall. So just be aware of that if you're heading to the beach today. Not super ideal, but not a washout either. Again, it's about the general influence of what is now Tropical Storm Julia, but may weaken over the next few days. And that includes today, tomorrow, and into the weekend. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook Live. Have a great day, everybody.